Hi, my name is Robert de Bok. I work for Adfinis and today I'd like to show you Molecule. Molecule is a testing framework for Ansible and it's really useful to see if your code works. So let's have a look at a random role. Just pick one, doesn't really matter which one. You'll see the files and directories that you are used to, like tasks and the defaults and the vars and handlers and so on. Everything's there, nothing special about it, but you do see one extra directory, the molecule directory. So this is something you could add to your roles. Let's have a look in here. There's a single directory now, and these directories are called scenarios. I have one scenario, the default scenario. If you don't specify anything, this runs. So what's in here? There's a couple of files. Most importantly, I guess, is the molecule file, which instructs molecule what to do. Prepare runs quite early on the instances you specify a molecule to sort of shape that container environment to allow the Converge playbook to run. So you could imagine if you're let's say configuring a web server, that in prepare you need to install some stuff like OpenSSL or change to firewall or so. That's not a part of your actual role. Lastly, the verify runs, and that's a checker. So to see if your role worked. Let's have a look. Let's start with a molecule and go over the files one by one. So this is a file it's not too long, it's 20 something lines or so. And what's in here? It says first get all the dependencies, and the file for that is requirements.yml. There's also a linting stage, so it does some linting, YAML lint and Ansible lint. I think by now Ansible lint has YAML lint integrated, so this line could be removed, but I'll check it out later. In this case, I'm trying to run stuff on Docker. I like that a lot. It's quick and easy to run and troubleshoot and so on. You could have different drivers, of course. And the platforms is the part where you can tell Molecule what to start. In this case, I'm starting a single machine, single container actually, and I'll call it turn minus Fedora if no one specified the image, minus latest if no one specified the tag, and I'll use a tox env name. I'll get back to that later. I use an image, basically Robert de Bok Fedora latest, but you could override that by setting the namespace, the image and the tag. And in that container I run init and I mount a couple of volumes, and it runs privileged, and that's required because in these containers I want to start and stop stuff. And my containers are already built, everything's in there. Otherwise Molecule will install a few things or so. And I don't like that, I like full control there. It runs a provisioning step with Ansible, of course. I'm not sure why this is configurable, but okay. And finally it does a verifier. So let's have a look in the other playbooks. So first it runs the prepare. And in this case, on all the containers, I install a couple of packages with that bootstrap one. It's Python and sudo basically. And APEL, extra packages for Enterprise Linux. So once that ran, the system is ready to run the Converge playbook. And mostly you'll see just the role being called. Here too, so run the turn role, whatever it is, and set a few variables, listening IP and an external IP. So pretty simple, nothing specifically difficult here. And finally it runs the verify step. And that is an interesting one because you can check if your role made the instance work. So you don't need to go over all the packages if they're there or the services if they've been started. You just want to check, does it listen now? Is there a web page? Is there, can I send a mail? Stuff like that. In this case, I do not know turn that well. I did see that port 3478 apparently should work. So in this case, let's check if 3478 runs. And that's about it. So let's run it. Let's go back into the regular directory and run molecule test. So there's a few options you could give here. Molecule test, that will run once, spin up everything, do all the testing and changes, and destroy everything again. If you're developing, it's very useful to add destroy is never. So that it doesn't matter if it fails or if it's successful, it will keep that instance so you can log in there and have a look. Let's do that in this instance and log into the system later. And meanwhile, there are a few extra parameters. So now we run molecule test. You can also run molecule converge or molecule verify or molecule login to log into that system. Let's wait a bit. It's installing all the dependencies it found, running all the linting steps. So in between you also see these info running this and that stage. So that's useful. This is still molecule, nothing on my role or my play or so. It starts up a container. It's there. It now runs the prepare playbook, which had that bootstrap and EPEL role. So it's installing the minimum it needs for the role to work. And it's nice to split the requirements into the prepare playbook and the code of this role into just this role, the Converge playbook. That's if you keep that pattern, it will be pretty easy to use. I'll be back in a moment. So molecule ran. This playbook is stable, so I knew it would succeed. But let's say if it did not succeed, you can also log in and troubleshoot. So that's real convenient if it fails or you want to check out what's there or so. And not everything is in this container, right? It's just a very empty container, so sometimes you need to install stuff. I'm not sure what, but you can also troubleshoot basically. And when you're done, so now a container is running, you can destroy everything. Unless you specify just test, then it destroys everything by itself. The destruction downloads the roles, the requirements again. Maybe that's needed to create or destroy the instance, and then starts to destroy everything. So here you see that molecule gave a destroy command, and then it waits a bit until it's destroyed. Now destroying things is pretty quick. Making a container run could take a while. So that's fine, of course, to do async. For destroy, yeah, not sure if it's required. So that's it. That's how molecule works. I think it's really useful to test. I'd like to show you one more trick, because you saw in this molecule the variables. So you saw the image, default Fedora, the tag, default latest. So in this case, you can also say image equals Ubuntu or something. Tag equals latest. Oh, that's the default, so we don't need to specify that. And then molecule test. So that's also possible. So it's really convenient to switch operating system or distribution and try your role on a different platform. And you can also do that in CI. Not going in too deep, but there's a couple of files here. I test stuff with GitLab, and in GitLab it runs molecule again, molecule test, based on the image and the tag it's received. And those two variables are expressed in a matrix. And that's real convenient because you have a 46-line file which does all these tests. So for example, Debian, latest and bullseye, and Fedora 33, 34, and rawhide 35 now. So it's just with a single commit you run, I don't know, 10, 12 jobs or so, and they test the same role on all the different architectures, on all the different distributions. Really, really useful. And the same applies for GitHub. They have actions. Here it is. Molecule. And it runs on a matrix too. The same matrix, of course. So it's pretty easy to use either way. So GitLab or GitHub both support this, easily, basically. That's it for today. So hope that gives you a good piece of information about Molecule. I highly suggest to use it both locally, which helps you, but especially in CI, GitLab or GitHub Actions. That's perfectly. So, goodbye. Hope to see you next time.